Welcome back to Hobby Universe Outdoors. I'm Len, and today we're going to be getting this John Deere X590 garden tractor ready for winter. Now in my case, I'm going to use this tractor to move snow. I've got a snow blower that I'm going to get hooked up, but there are some maintenance things that I want to do to the tractor before getting into that winter service and kind of prepping it a little bit for next year as well. And I'll explain what I mean by that as I go through the video. Now, if you weren't going to use the tractor during these next several months in the winter, whether it be with a snow blower or a snow plow or whatever it is, and the tractor is just going to be sitting for several months, there are a few extra things that I would do a little bit differently than what I'm going to do here today. So if that's the case and your tractor is simply going to be sitting for several months, I'm going to make a separate video on that. A family member has an X530, which is very similar to this. And I'm going to be getting their tractor ready for winter, and their tractor will indeed be sitting for several months. I'll make a separate video for that, so if you're interested in seeing what that looks like, watch for that one in the next couple weeks. For now, we're just going to get ready for winter. Let's get started. Something I've gotten in the habit of doing before doing most maintenance to my tractor, so I just hit it really quick with an air hose. That way it helps keep my floor in my garage a little bit cleaner as I'm moving things around. I don't have leaves and grass clippings falling all over the place. So we're going to hit it with the air hose real quick and knock off any of that loose dust and debris. Now that we've got it all cleaned off, the next thing I'm going to do is remove the deck. And it's pretty simple to remove the deck on these newer X500 series tractors. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about getting the deck off of the tractor, but I do have a separate video I made on that process. If you'd like to see what that looks like, I'll put a link down in the description of this video, and you can also find that in my video list. Now that we've got that mower deck off, I'm going to want to access under the hood to get a couple other things taken care of. I've got to remove this pin for the brush guard. It's the only drawback of having one of these brush guards on here. I like having it, I think it looks cool. But if you try to open the hood and the brush guard is installed, it's not going to allow the hood to open, it's going to hit this thing. So you've got to remove this pin, and that allows you to open the hood of the tractor. Not a big deal, minor inconvenience, I'm willing to work through it. Again, I like having the brush guard on there. Some of the things I do are not specific to winter, it's just regular maintenance stuff, but this is just a good time to get some of this checked off the list. One is going to be the air filter. So I'm going to get this thing, I'm going to take it outside and blow this out. I'm also going to remove the air filter, take it out, and I'm going to blow that off as well. You can see this air filter, this is the pre-filter on the outside of it, is pretty darn dirty. So again, just a really good idea to keep this thing clean, get it ready for winter, standard maintenance. Now I want to take this off, and I want to be careful not to let any of that crap go down into the intake. So now we're going to take this outside and get it blown off. But you can see, I got quite a bit of crap on there, and I'm going to get that out of there. So the goal is to get all this dust off the filter itself, then the filter on the inside here, and also this pre-filter, which I'm a big fan of those pre-filters. Sometimes I see tractors where the owners don't put that back on. I really think it's a great idea. The amount of stuff that's coming off of that is not getting onto or into the primary filter, to me is definitely worth it. So we're going to get this thing cleaned off a little bit. That's nice and clean. Now we're going to get this guy. And what I want to do is I'm not going to blow the air into the outside of the filter because I don't want to force any of that dust and crap into the filter further. What I want to do is I want to blow it out. So I'm going to hit the outside of it, these solid surfaces. Wow, look at that. And then I'm going to actually put the nozzle of the air hose inside the filter. And I'm blowing outward, so I'm pushing that stuff out of the filter and away from it rather than forcing it into the filter. Now that I got most of that out, I'm going to hit the outside of it quick. And something else I do, and I used to do this on car air filters, was I like to see daylight through it. So if I can look through that little hole, I'm not going to be able to show that to you, but I can look through that little hole and I can see daylight coming through the filter. That tells me it's clean enough to do what we need it to do. And now we can move on. Got that air filter clean. The housing is clean. We'll get this reinstalled and we can move on to the next item. Now, I'm not going to change the oil in this machine right now. I actually just did that. It's still fairly new. I just hit the 50-hour mark and I decided to change the oil at that time. So that has been done. I do believe it's better to do it in the fall instead of the spring. I'm not going to get into a lot of that now, but during my next video when I do the winter prep on that X530, I'll talk a little bit more about the reasoning behind doing it in the fall instead of the spring. But for now, I am going to check the oil, make sure the oil level is where we want it to be, and I'm also going to visually inspect the gas filter. That was changed at the same time I did the oil change. I don't expect there to be any issues with that, but I'm going to give it a quick look just to make sure. Checking the oil level in this tractor is actually pretty straightforward, but there is one weird little thing that I wanted to point out. But what you'd expect, you unscrew the cap, you pull it out, give it a quick wipe, get all that oil on there, anything that might have splashed up on when you were running it. But now what we're going to do is we're going to put the dipstick back in, but we're not going to screw the cap down. We're just going to let it sit, and we're going to pull it back out. We're going to check the oil, and looking at that, I am just below the full mark. That's exactly what I would expect to see. I just changed the oil on this thing, and if it wasn't full, that would mean something was wrong, and that would make me sad. We're in good shape on this, no issues. The reason you don't want to screw the cap back on when you're checking the oil is because that's what the manufacturer says not to do. They say, for correct oil level, do not turn cap on threads. So that's what we're doing here. We pulled it out, got it cleaned off, just set it on top of the tube, pull it back out, look at our oil level, confirm it's good. Next thing I'm going to look at is the battery. And I'm going to be looking for obvious things like corrosion on the terminals, bad connections, bad wires, anything like that. Don't expect to have any issues with the battery. Again, this tractor is only a year old, but I'm going to give it a quick inspection anyway. Something else I'm going to do is I'm going to pop the caps off the top of the battery, and that will allow me to check that water level. And you want to make sure the water level is up where it needs to be. If it's not, you're going to want to use distilled water, by the way. You don't want to use tap water, well water, anything like that. Get some distilled water and just top it off and get that to the appropriate level. If you're low on water, then the battery's not going to have the power that it normally would. And I want as much power as I can get coming from that battery into the starter, because again, this thing is not stored in a heated garage. So if it's 5 degrees outside, that's going to be the temperature this tractor is being stored at. So I need all the power I can get to make sure that motor turns over when I need it to. One other thing I wanted to mention was that when you see me working on a battery, I'm going to be wearing gloves and safety glasses. And the reason is if I'm opening up the battery and taking those caps off, I don't want to get any battery acid splashed in my face. And I don't want it on my hands either, because if I get it on my hands and I forget it's there and I rub my eye or my finger goes in my mouth or something, that's just not something you want. I mean, nobody wants battery acid in their mouth or in their eyes. So wear your PPE, personal protective equipment, just to stay safe. I will be the first to admit I'm not always that great at wearing PPE stuff, but in this case, I am. So I think we're done under the hood. We checked the gas filter, the air filter, we got that all cleaned up. That thing was pretty nasty. Battery, we know that's in good condition. Water level's where it's supposed to be. Connections are all good. Oil's good. Yep, I think we're done under the hood. So now we're going to get this thing closed up. And there's only a few other things that we're going to want to look at. and one is going to be the tire pressure. And it's surprising how many issues you can actually have if your tire pressure is off. So for me, getting ready to put the snowblower on, if the tire pressures are off, one is considerably lower than the other, well, the tractor is going to sit a little bit funny, and now your snowblower is going to sit a little bit funny, and this corner is going to drag before this one even hits. We don't want that. The same is going to be true when you're mowing. You can get an uneven cut if your tire pressure isn't exactly where it should be, at least side to side. A lot of people don't consider that and they get an uneven cut. Man, the simple answer is check your tire pressures before you start looking at anything else, because 9 times out of 10, I'm going to bet that's it. Now on this tractor, I know I'm looking for 10 in the back and 14 in the front. And actually this one was a little bit low, so I'm glad I'm checking these. We'll get the fronts, we'll check those. Also a little bit low. So it's a lot cooler now than it was over the summer when I did the oil change and checked the tire pressure. So maybe that has something to do with it, the colder temperatures allowing that pressure to decrease. So next I'm going to top off the Zerk fittings, the grease fittings on this tractor. And you know, the obvious answer to why you grease your equipment is it prevents wear, where those components are rubbing together. That provides the lubrication, preventing premature wear. Another reason I do it, the reason I'm doing it right now, is because the grease also acts as a barrier from debris, and in this case, getting ready for winter, moisture getting in there as well. So if you have that grease in there, that's going to keep the water and the melting snow out. I don't want it in that spindle, that steering spindle. So I'm going to hit that with grease. There's another one on the other side. And then underneath the tractor where that front end pivots, there's a Zerk fitting there. It's only going to take me a couple minutes to do this. Well worth it. Let's do it. Anytime I'm getting ready to grease a piece of equipment, I always make sure that I wipe those Zerk fittings off. I don't want to get any dirt and crap into the nozzle of my grease gun. And I also don't want to force any of that stuff into that grease fitting when I start pumping the grease. Now the nozzle I'm using, it's from a company called LockNLube. And it's nice because it locks on and it doesn't pop off. Let me give this, looks like 3 pumps. And what I looked for was I saw this cap, it started to move just a little bit, it started to raise. So that tells me this thing is full, got more than enough grease in it. And to get this LockNLube connector off, you just push on the release lever, it pops right off. Give that another wipe. And now we can move on to the other side. And even though I'm done with the mower deck for the winter, I'm still going to go ahead and grease it now. That way it'll be ready for me in the spring. Just give it 3 pumps. That should be good. Not a rock. That's weird. Just clean that deck out and somehow there's a rock in there. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on greasing the deck. There is a video out there that I made for that, so if you're interested in seeing it, this will be the last one. This mower deck has 3 Zerk fittings, so we've got all 3 of those taken care of. Now that we've got it all greased up, normally what I would do would be to flip this thing over, remove the blades, sharpen them, get them reinstalled. That way I'd be ready for spring when it's time to start cutting grass. I'm actually going to do it a little bit different this time. On my previous tractor, I had a really nice set of mulching blades, and I liked having those on there. Even though it didn't have a mulching plug, it still gave me a finer cut. The grass trimmings were a lot finer, which I appreciated. So that's what I want to do on this one as well. Again, I'm not going to install a mulching plug, at least not right now. We're just going to go with a good set of blades. I know there's at least a few good options out there for manufacturers and models of blades that will fit this deck. So I'll work through that once I get a little bit of extra time, a little bit later this year after I get through all the chaos that is getting ready for winter. And when I do that, I'll make a video and I'll share that with you, letting you know why I chose the blades that I did. Depending on the make and model of your tractor, there may be some other things you want to check. For me, I've got this small reservoir in the back of the tractor, And this holds the hydraulic and transmission fluid. And what that stuff does is that's what raises and lowers the mower deck, or in the next month or so, it's what's going to raise and lower the snowblower on the tractor. And it also is the transmission fluid for that forward and back motion. This is at full, so we're in good shape. Since I'm going to be using this tractor all winter long to remove snow, I really don't have to worry about the gas that's in the tank going stale. I'm going to be replacing that as I go through the season. But the tractor I'm going to be working on in the next couple weeks for that family member, getting that ready for winter storage, that will be sitting for several months without being used. So what I'll do is I'll add something like this Sta-Bil or something similar to the gas tank, so that whatever unused gas is in the tank is still going to be good in the spring when it's ready to go. So again, I don't need to worry about it on this one because I'm going to be using the heck out of it. But that other one that's going to be parked, definitely going to want to treat the gas. Well, that's going to do it. That is my process for getting this thing ready for the winter weather that's quickly approaching. I will have to install the snowblower and the tire chains. I really don't like installing the tire chains. I don't know why. It's always such a hassle. I feel like maybe I'll spend a little bit more time this time around trying to figure out an easier way to do it. Anyway, I think we're pretty good. We're ready for winter. If you think I've missed anything or there's something else that you do as part of your process getting ready for winter, send that to me in the comments. I'd like to hear about it. Maybe I'll learn something. I appreciate you taking the time to watch. If you like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Again, thanks for watching. Be safe and enjoy the rest of your day.